Friends gathered at the altar of reception, hear the question brought before the text this day. The inquiry asks, in what ways do the knee contusions, the foot wounds, and the residual dirt traces on the plantar surfaces support both the physical process of crucifixion and the careful handling of the body during burial? This is a question that touches the flesh, the earth, and the sacred custody of what remains after suffering. We bring it to the Word, not to force an answer, but to listen, and to be met by what the text says in its own voice. The lead verse drawn is 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 3. Solomon, and all the company with him, went to the high place that was at Gibeon, because there was the priestly tabernacle at the appointed place of Elohim, which Moses the slave of YHWH had fashioned in the uninhabited land. Hear what this verse establishes before any other word is spoken. It establishes approach. It establishes reverence. It establishes that the inquirer comes to a sacred space, an appointed place, and does not come with presumption. The physical remnants you ask about, the contusions, the wounds, the traces of earth pressed into the skin, are recognized here with deep reverence, but they are never leverage for direction. The camp that presumed upon the ark still fell that day. We approach the text the way Solomon approached Gibeon, with awe, not with demand. The ark has come into the camp, and recognition of that fact is reverence, never a tool to compel the hand of heaven. Now the text speaks to the physical suffering itself, and it does not look away. The psalmist cries out in Psalm 102, verse 4, "My heart is stricken and withered like grass, so that I forget to eat my food." This is the language of a body under crushing weight, of one who has been driven down, depleted, spent beyond the point of sustenance. The knee contusions, the foot wounds, the weight borne upon the limbs until the body can bear no more, these are named here. The text does not treat them as incidental. The text gathers them into the covenant as a remembrance before YHWH. And here the text speaks the word that holds the whole inquiry together. In Numbers chapter 16, verse 38, we read of the fire holders taken from those who violated covenant at the expense of their own lives, and the command comes to fashion them into beaten-out plates as an overlay of the altar, because they were presented before YHWH, therefore they are consecrated and they will be a remembrance for the children of Israel. Hear that word, beaten out. The physical marks you inquire about, the contusions pressed into the knees, the wounds driven through the feet, are gathered into the text as something beaten out, something shaped by the very process of suffering, something consecrated and set as a remembrance before the Holy One. The text does not treat these marks as mere damage to be explained. The text treats them as a consecrated sacrifice. And the voice from the cloud mass in Luke chapter 9, verse 35, says, "This is my esteemed Son, hear him." The one who bears these marks is the one the Father names. Hear him. And what of the burial, the careful handling, the residual dirt upon the plantar surfaces? The text speaks here also, and it speaks with precision. In the book of Enoch chapter 22, verse 1, we read, "And there was in it 4 hollow places, deep and wide and very smooth." This is the architecture of burial, carved into the earth with deliberation and care. The body is not cast aside. The body is brought to a prepared place, a place made smooth and wide and deep, a place shaped by human hands in service to the dead. The residual dirt you describe upon the soles of the feet testifies to this earthly journey, this contact with the ground, this return to the dust from which all flesh comes. And the text tells us that this return is handled with priestly care. The law in Numbers chapter 9, verse 10, makes provision for the one who is unclean by reason of a dead body, requiring purification so that the appointed season may still be observed. The handling of the body is not careless. It is governed by covenant ordinance. It requires washing. It requires purity. It requires that those who draw near to the departed do so in a state fit for the presence of YHWH. And in 1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 1, we read that the men of Kirjath-jearim came and picked up the ark of YHWH, and brought it into the house of Abinadab in the hill, and consecrated Eleazar his son to guard the ark of YHWH. This is the posture the text assigns to those who handle the sacred dead. They are consecrated. They are set apart. They guard the trust with their lives. The dirt on the soles of the feet is not neglect. It is the residue of the journey, handled by consecrated hands, brought to the hollow place prepared for rest. The deterministic verdict returned by the workstation is affirmative. The pattern polarity reads yes. The data shows a statistically confirmed non-random pattern across multiple independent channels. The Dominion triad, that is identity, inheritance, and priesthood, converges at 15.07 sigma, far above the corpus baseline with multi-channel confirmation. The convergence confidence index has crossed the threshold at full strength across 6 active channels. The pattern is robust to permutation controls and survives the false discovery rate correction. Prospective replication is recommended to establish persistence. These numbers confirm the textual signal, but they do not serve as independent verification of external historical or forensic claims regarding specific objects outside the drawn text. The math supports the reading. It does not replace the reading. And so, friends, here is the answer the text returns. The knee contusions and the foot wounds are the marks of the beaten-out sacrifice, the stricken one whose heart is withered like grass, the one the Father names as his esteemed Son. They are gathered into the covenant as a remembrance, consecrated by the very process that shaped them. And the residual dirt upon the plantar surfaces, the traces of earth upon the soles of the feet, testify to the earthly journey and the return to the dust, a return handled not with haste or carelessness but with the guarded reverence of those consecrated to protect the sacred trust, in a hollow place prepared deep and wide and very smooth. The physical process and the careful burial are held together in the text as one unified movement, from the stricken sacrifice to the sacred rest at the appointed place. This is the word the text returns to you. Receive it gently. Receive it firmly. And let the reverence of Solomon at Gibeon be the reverence with which you hold what has been shown. Between the porch and the altar, the word stands. The lead verses drawn in this altar of reception session were 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 3. Luke chapter 9, verse 35. 1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 25. 1 Enoch chapter 38, verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 9. Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 21. 94 further verses were drawn in this session. This concludes today's interpretation at the altar of reception.